Vision IB, where physics becomes clarity.
So, my dear friends, in this lecture, we are going to discuss the Carnot engine. So, what is Carnot engine? And after covering the Carnot engine, we are going to discuss about the Carnot cycle. So, I will try to explain you this in very simple terms. So, let's then begin with the Carnot engine. So, what is a Carnot engine? So, Carnot engine is a engine which is it is a kind of reversible heat engine operating between two temperatures. So one reservoir is cold and other reservoir is hot. So it is basically an engine that operates between two reservoirs, right? And it is named after the French engineer called Carnot, right? So Carnot engine is basically a cyclic process. So you won't understand simply what I say by the cyclic process and just by the definition itself. I will explain you it in the simple terms. So you must all be aware with the term reversible. So basically it's a reversible engine that works between two reservoirs at different temperature. So in the Carnot engine, we have one hot reservoir, we have one cold reservoir, and we have a heat engine operating in between. So this heat engine can be referred as a system. So I think this is clear. So what happens is during the what happens in Carnot engine is, first the heat is absorbed from the hot reservoir. The heat is absorbed by the heat engine from a hot reservoir, but the process is by isothermal process. So in isothermal process, as we are aware, in isothermal process there is no heat exchange between the system and the surrounding. I think this is pretty basic and you won't get confused in this, right? So the first step is the heat engine absorbs the heat from the hot reservoir isothermally, right? Now let's have a look at the second part. So in the second part, now since the heat is absorbed by the heat engine must transfer the heat to the cold reservoir, right? But before that, there is a change in temperature. So once the heat is absorbed from the hot reservoir, suppose initially the heat engine was at temperature T1, but after the heat is absorbed, it goes into the temperature T2, right? But point to be noted here is this change in temperature is adiabatic. So what is adiabatic? Adiabatic, as you have already known, that in adiabatic the temperature remains constant. So the heat engine absorbs the heat from the hot reservoirs, do some work, but the process of change of temperature, that is the heat engine transfers from temperature T1 to T2 with the absorption of heat, which is adiabatic. So there is no loss of heat in this process. Like in this process, the temperature is changing from T1 to T2. The temperature is changing from T1 to T2, but there is no loss of heat. The process is adiabatic, right? Now let's have a look at the third stage. So in third stage, what happens? Now, since the heat is absorbed, the temperature is changed from T1 to T2 adiabatically. Now this heat is released to the cold reservoir. Now this heat, the process of release of heat to the cold reservoir is isothermal. So in this process, what happens, as you know what is isothermal process is. So in isothermal process, there is no change of temperature. So this heat is released to the cold reservoir isothermally. And then again, the system goes from temperature T2 to T1, that is adiabatically. Again, the heat is transferred to the hot reservoir from the temperature T1 to T2, which is an adiabatic process. So I think now you understood what is a Carnot engine and how does it operate. Let me explain you again. So this Carnot engine is divided into four parts. One is, first, heat is absorbed isothermally. Second, the system goes from the temperature from T1 to T2 adiabatically. Third process, the heat is released isothermally to the cold reservoir. Again, no change in temperature, and then the heat is then again the temperature goes from temperature T2 to T1, and the cycle goes on continuing, right? So basically, in this process, I'm going to explain you the Carnot engine in a graphical manner. So here I have already made the graph of the Carnot engine. So you can see this is on y-axis we have pressure, on x-axis we have the volume, right? So there are four processes involved in it. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this one is 4. And in this you can clearly see that there is a change in volume during this process. There is already the change in volume during this process, right? So let's begin. So ideally the hot reservoir is at engine is at P1, B1 and T1 temperature, right? So the pressure is also same, volume is also same, and temperature is also same, right? So there is no change in it. So as I explained earlier, the heat is absorbed isothermally in the first process. So what happens? This is an isothermal curve. So during this curve, the temperature does not change. The pressure and the volume changes, but the temperature does not change. Temperature remains constant. As I told you that this is an isothermal curve, right? Isothermal process. Second, what happens is the system goes to a change in temperature from T1 to T2, but that is adiabatic, right? There is no heat exchange between the system and the surrounding. So in the second phase, you can clearly see that in the second phase, you can clearly say that the pressure P2, V2, P3, V3, but the temperature is changing. But the temperature is changing from T1 to T2. But again, this change of temperature is adiabatic. Adiabatic means, again, I have to explain you that there is no loss of heat to the surrounding. So hope you understood up till this much, right? Now we will move from point 2 to point 3. So in this point 3, what is happening? In this point 3, what is happening? Heat is released isothermally. So as the graph goes like this, there is a release of heat, but which is isothermal again. Again, the temperature remains constant. So you can see that the temperature here is constant as the engine goes isothermically, right? And after this, what happens? Again, the cycle continues, and this P4, B4, and P2 again gets converted into P1, B1, and T1, right? So hope you understood this Carnot cycle, and this cycle keeps on repeating between two reservoirs, that is hot reservoir and cold reservoir. So this is what the Carnot cycle is. I tried to explain you this in a very simplest manner as possible. So let's have a recap and let's have a look at the Carnot cycle again. So first, in the Carnot cycle, the heat is absorbed isothermally. Second, the system goes from change of temperature from T1 to T2 adiabatically. After that, the heat is released from the system isothermically, and again the system goes from temperature T2 to T1 adiabatically. So this is what the Carnot cycle and the graph is all about. Hope you understood this lecture. And now we are going to solve some numericals on thermodynamics. So I will be solving only one numericals. Further, I will be giving you a solution to many numericals in the upcoming videos. But for this video, I'll just explain you one numerical. So let's have a look at the numerical. So the question is, what amount of heat must be supplied to, what amount of heat must be supplied to 2 into 10 raised to 2 kg, 10 raised to minus 2 kg of nitrogen at room temperature to raise its temperature by 45 degrees Celsius at constant pressure. We have been given the molar mass of nitrogen to be 28 and R to be 8.3 joules per mole per Kelvin. So let's solve this numerical. Before solving this numerical, we need the concept of specific heat capacity per mole. So that is Cp. So specific heat capacity per mole is called as molar heat capacity. It is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 mole of substance by 1 Kelvin or 1 degree. So let's jump into the numerical and let's just solve this amazing numerical. So we have the specific molar capacity, which is given to be 7 by 2 times R, and the CV is given to be 5 by 2 R. So we have these values, and based on that we are going to solve this numericals. The value of R, that is 8.3, is already given in the equation, already given in the question. So let's just solve it. And for your information, this is the raise in temperature is delta T. We have to find what amount of heat must be supplied. That is, we have to find the value of Q. That is Q we have to find, right? So first let's calculate Cp. So we know that Cp is given to be 7 by 2 times 8.3 joules per Kelvin per mole, right? So if we calculate this, we get it as sorry, we don't calculate it in the beginning, we will calculate it later. So we will after that we will find Cv. So Cv is given by 5 by 2 into 8. Okay, we can calculate Cv first, Cp first, so it does not matter. It is not a problem here. So we get Cp as 29.05 joule per mole per Kelvin, right? And we don't need to calculate Cv in this. We are only concerned with Cp, that is molar heat, specific molar heat capacity. So we are already interested in specific molar heat capacity. So we have specific molar heat capacity is 29.05 joules per mole per Kelvin, right? But we know one formula from the thermodynamics, like if you have studied thermodynamics well, you will understand that Cp is 1 by N delta Q by delta T. So if we arrange this equation, we need to find this Q, right? So if we arrange this equation, we get Q as N Cp delta T, right? So now we have to find N, that is number of moles, So the number of moles is given by the number of moles is given by 20 times 28, right? 20 divided by 28, sorry, not times. So what is 20? It is already given as 2 into 10 raised to minus 2 kg of nitrogen. So that is 20 gram of nitrogen at the molar mass of nitrogen is given to be 28. So this is molar mass. So number of moles becomes, we have the value as 0.714. So now we have the value of N. we have the value of Cp, we have the value of delta T. So we need to calculate the amount of heat that must be supplied, right? So the amount of heat that must be supplied can be calculated very easily. Now you can grab your pen and calculator if you use. You can just put N as 0.714. We have Cp as 29.05. We have delta T, that is change in temperature, as 45 degrees. So we'll just write it as 45. So now we have Q as 0.934 kilojoules. So basically we can say that the amount of heat that is required to be supplied to 2 kg 20 gram of nitrogen is 0.934 kilojoule. So hope you understood this lecture. This lecture was mainly about Carnot cycle and Carnot engine. So hope you understood this lecture, and further I'll be uploading more numericals related to IB boards. So stay tuned for that.
If this helped you understand physics better, like the video,